Hey guys, welcome back to another Clash Royale video, and today we'll be talking about the next balance update in Season 11 of Clash Royale, because from the sounds of it, it appears that it might just be a massive balance update, potentially one of the biggest balance updates we've seen in Clash Royale history, and I'll explain why I think that in a moment here. But in case you guys have missed the earlier news that was released a little while ago, Seth did confirm that one card, the staple of Clash Royale, is going to be getting a massive rework in May, and that is the NATO spell. If you guys missed it, on Twitter earlier on this season, Seth confirmed that the NATO spell is getting a big rework in May. It is aimed at increasing the skill cap at the highest levels of play. Now, the way I interpret that is, aka, it'll be a net nerf for the NATO spell, but it'll still be viable, because obviously NATO spell is very strong right now. Now, the more important thing here that I want to point out to you is down here in a reply, Seth confirmed that the rework will reduce Tornado's sustained crowd control, aka the duration, and we will be rebalancing several cards alongside with it, okay? That's the key phrase that I want you to focus on right here, is rebalancing several cards alongside with it. Because obviously there are cards in Clash Royale that rely on the NATO for success. Things like the Ice Wizard are largely only ever used in NATO decks. So remember that phrase in a moment here. Now, there was also this image here that was spreading over on social media. A lot of people thought it was real. It is actually a fake image. It was posted by Sword CR. At the time, he had the fake Seth Royale profile image, which is why a lot of people thought it was real. But even though it is fake, the important thing here is the actual official Seth account responded to that. Boss had said, I think I speak for almost everyone when I say this, if these changes were the actual balance changes, everyone would be happy. And he responded, can I hold you to this? Which implies that those 5 cards will actually be changed in the May balance update. He also responded, it's missing the other 6, implying that in addition to these 5 cards right here, there are 6 more being changed in the May balance update, which would have a total of 11 cards changed in Season 11 of Clash Royale, which would be massive. Normally, we only ever get like 4 to 7 cards changed in a balance update recently. Now, the question is he being true right here, or is he kind of just joking around? Now, personally, I think he's kind of just joking around with the other 6 cards, but the reason I think it might be true that he might have 11 cards being changed is because of this phrase right here. We will rebalance several cards alongside with it. Because we already know that there are a few problem cards in Clash Royale right now that need a change regardless of the NATO spell. Things like Goblin Hut, Baby Dragon, Mini P.E.K.K.A, Bomb Tower, Battle Healer. Like, all these cards in this image right here, this fake image, they all need to be changed. Now, throw in the fact that they're reworking NATO, and they have to rebalance several cards with NATO. That increases the chances that we might actually see 11 cards being changed this balance update, right? If they're already nerfing a bunch of other cards and NATO and rebalancing several cards with NATO, then the chances of potentially an 11 card balance update, I think, are a little bit higher if it isn't a joke. Now, one more thing I want to point out right here is Seth did confirm on Twitter that the Magic Archer is getting his range back in May. As you guys know, he was basically, his range was nerfed in May, and then basically wasn't ever used this month at all. He's got one of the lower win rates in Clash Royale. So they're giving the range back, but adding a different nerf instead, okay? So that's one more card beyond this image right here that is confirmed is a Magic Archer change, as well as a few more. Now, diving deeper, speaking of the Goblin Hut right here, Goblin Hut is basically confirmed to be changed in May as well, which suggests more validity that this image right here might have all those cards being changed, because we have basically confirmation that Goblin Hut will be nerfed in May. Now, how would that nerf look like for the Goblin Hut? Well, I found a post over on Reddit over here in which Seth was responding to a balanced wish list, and he suggested that the Goblin Hut health reduction would happen. Okay, they're happy with the way the Goblin Hut is right now with the death spawn of Spirit Goblins, but potentially a health reduction for the Goblin Hut so that spells would get more value against it, which I think is a great idea. Now, one more card that might be changed in the next balance update is the Earthquake, because this poster suggests an idea for the Earthquake in where you increase the overall damage of the Earthquake so that it can kill skeletons in one shot, but then reduce the multiplier for buildings, because right now I think it does 4 times as much damage to buildings. So his idea was basically increasing the overall damage of the Earthquake, but reducing the multiplier from 4 to 3. And that way the Earthquake would be more versatile and would kill things like goblins and skeletons faster, but deal a little bit less damage to buildings, making it like... Because the way that it is right now with the Earthquake is if you face a building deck, you hard counter them. But if you don't face a building deck, it can feel like a dead card in your deck. So making it a bit more versatile. So we have potentially, like he said right here, Seth said, I think the most likely to happen would be Earthquake change plus Goblin health reduction. He also confirmed that the Fisherman, they want to buff it, but it'll wait for the next client update to fix some bugs. And he also mentions the Royal Recruits. He said that they're happy with the Royal Recruits right now, but they want to put them in a category like Freeze, where they are a nice crutch for new players and have niche uses, but the game would not really be better if they were 10% usage and 50% win rate. Now, we'll kind of remember that in a moment here, the Royal Recruits phrase, but that is the news, guys, for Season 11 Balance Update. Potentially 11 cards maybe being changed in that update, if this tweet is true or not. What do you guys think? Do you think he's joking around or is he being serious? But, I mean, the fact is that all these cards in this image right here could use some changes. And throw in the NATO rework and rebalancing other cards as well, we might have a massive, like the NATO rework by itself will already be game changing in Clash Royale because so many decks use NATO in there. Golem Beatdown, Eagle and Beatdown, Ice Bow, Splash Yard. There's so many different decks that use NATO, so by changing it, it's going to have a massive ripple effect throughout the meta. So I think it's going to be a fairly massive change. Now, with that being said, I pulled up a Royale API over here. And what I want to do is if we have 11 cards being changed in this balance update, I want to share with you what cards I think would be changed beyond the ones that I've already confirmed and why. So we have confirmation, obviously, that NATO will be reworked in the May balance update, so that we already have confirmation for that one, which, by the way, the win rate for NATO is only 48% right now, so fairly interesting. By the way, guys, this is a Grand Challenge stats because Grand Challenges have tournament standard gameplay, whereas ladder levels are unleveled ladder. So Magic Archer, we already have confirmation that it will be changed as well. Magic Archer is way down here, 21% win rate. So those are 2 cards of the 11. Goblin Hut, we already have confirmation for right here. Health reduction potentially for the Goblin Hut. Earthquake potentially might be changed. Right now, the win rate of Earthquake is 56%. One of the highest win rate spells in Clash Royale, which is absurd. So potentially a rework for the Earthquake as well in May. Healer potentially getting changed as well. Obviously, the win rates aren't very high. The problem with the Battle Healer is it's a very matchup dependent card. If you're rocking a Battle Healer Golem deck, what it comes down to is some matchups you just absolutely destroy them because they had no response, and some matchups you get absolutely destroyed because you had no response, right? If you face a Rocket deck or a Lightning deck, it's so much harder to do anything with your Battle Healer because it destroys your support units. Whereas if you're facing an Earthquake deck, for example, they basically can't do anything to destroy your Battle Healer, and she heals through everything. So potentially a nerf maybe for the Battle Healer in May. If it were up to me, I would suggest removing her self-heal. You know how when she hasn't been hit for a while, and she's kind of like walking by herself, she starts healing back up to full. I don't think she needs that self-heal to be unique in Clash Royale. She already has a bunch of other abilities. So I would start by removing that self-heal of the Battle Healer to see if that kind of reins her in. Another idea that I have for her to kind of like rebalance her is what if they lowered her attack speed so it's a bit slower, but increased her damage, right? Lower her attack speed, but increase her damage so her net DPS is the same, but with the lower attack speed, she isn't healing as fast, right? Just an idea. Or just, I guess, you know, just reduce the heal amount overall. Just that way it isn't as crazy if you can't stop her. Mini P.E.K.K.A, a lot of people kind of talking about it. Still 53% win rate, which is very high considering the meta right now is swarm-based. you have a lot of swarm decks, skeleton barrels, goblin huts, stuff like that in the meta right now, and the mini P.E.K.K.A is still at 53% win rate. I know a lot of people kind of expected the win rate of the mini P.E.K.K.A to drop down with the swarm-based meta, but it still remains high. So I would not be surprised at all if the mini P.E.K.K.A got a nerf. If I were to nerf it, I would start with the health of the mini P.E.K.K.A. I think you want to keep the high damage because obviously it's meant to be a high damage card, but just lower the health a bit so it maybe dies one hit earlier in some interactions. Bomb Tower. This is an interesting card. Bomb Tower is basically boxing out almost all other cards or defensive buildings in Clash Royale right now besides spawners. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a slight nerf for the Bomb Tower. Once again, I would suggest a health nerf so it dies a little bit faster. Nothing crazy, maybe like a 5% health nerf for the Bomb Tower. Baby Dragon, we know, might be rebalanced as well. It currently is the single highest used card in the entire game, but the win rates aren't that high. Now, the thing is, obviously, there is a direct correlation. The higher the use rates, obviously, the win rate goes down because a lot of the matchups you have Baby Dragon facing Baby Dragon, one of them obviously loses, right? So the higher the usage rate goes, the more your win rate will drop, right? So the fact that it's the #1 used card in Clash Royale indicates that maybe it obviously needs a nerf this time. Now, I don't know how that'll affect with the NATO nerf, because obviously a lot of Baby Dragon decks also have the NATO in there. So the question becomes, is the Baby Dragon actually that overpowered, or is it only as OP because NATO is OP, right? If they nerf NATO, is the current Baby Dragon still overpowered, or would it potentially need a buff if they nerf NATO, right? Serious question. I don't know what the answer is, but as it stands right now, people want the nerf for the Baby Dragon. The next card, guys, is going to be the Ice Wizard. Where is it right here? Where's the Ice Wizard? It currently has a 46% win rate. So fairly low win rate for the Ice Wizard. But if you think about it, almost all Ice Wizard decks use NATO. So if they nerf the NATO, then I think the Ice Wizard needs a buff. And I think that is what they mean when they say they're going to be rebalancing several cards with the NATO nerf. So potentially we'll see a change for the Ice Wizard in May, and potentially as well the Wizard. The Wizard right here, guys, currently has a win rate of 17%. So if you sort by win percentages here, look at where the Wizard is. This is kind of funny because I know a lot of people say Wizard's OP. I see so many comments saying Wizard is brokenly overpowered, but it's currently the second lowest win rate card in the entire game, right? And if they nerf NATO, does that nerf Wizard as well? So potentially, I could understand the argument for buffing Wizard or reworking it somehow with the NATO change because of the low win rate. The last card that I think that we're at like 10 cards right now. If we do have 11 cards this balance update, another card that I think is almost guaranteed to get changed either this month or like within a couple months here is going to be the Royal Delivery. The Royal Delivery is the newest card in Clash Royale. Obviously, it hasn't really made a huge impact into the game. So I feel like it's almost guaranteed, if not May, then within the next couple of months that the Royal Delivery will be changed. But I have a feeling we'll see it in May. They've got enough information out there to show that the Royal Delivery is a bit underpowered. So I feel like we might see a rework in May. And that is the 11 cards that I think might be changed in the next balance update. NATO, Magic Archer, Goblin Hut, Earthquake, Healer, Mini P.E.K.K.A Bomb Tower, Baby Dragon, Royal Delivery, Ice Wizard, and Wizard. Okay? The only one on that list that I kind of feel like is maybe, like if they did do 11 cards, the only one that I see being a maybe, or unlikely potentially, is the Wizard change. The Wizard change might require a more substantial rework before they do that, so they might not do a Wizard change. Potentially with the NATO rework, maybe instead of Wizard, maybe they change Executioner. Executioner, unlike Wizard, where Wizard is used in other decks besides NATO decks, Executioner is a splash card that is almost only ever used in NATO decks as well. So if they nerf NATO, potentially a buff for the Executioner, okay? Because Wizard is used in different decks, right? Whereas Executioner is not. So I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think down below in those comments. Do you think we'll actually see 11 cards being changed this balance update? Obviously, this entire video hinges on that fact of if. Is he telling the truth? Is he just joking around? Personally, I think he's kind of just joking around a bit, but I think there is a potential logical reason for why we might see 11 cards being changed this balance update. Like, if you start looking at all these kind of like these messages here of knowing, you know, for example, things like Goblin Hut need to be changed, but also rebalancing several other cards besides a NATO, I think you have a likely argument as to why there might be 11 cards being changed in the next balance update. But yeah, guys, that is the end of the video, the end of the news, and my thoughts on if there was 11 cards being changed in May. Those are the ones that I think will be changed and why. Leave your thoughts down below, guys. Do you think we'll see 11 cards being changed? What cards do you think will be changed, if anything? What is your ideal balance wish list? Which cards do you think are most overpowered and most underpowered that need a change in the next balance update? Oh, one thing I want to mention here, guys, that I kind of forgot to already, is in this Reddit post here, Seth mentions the Royal recruits that they're pretty happy with right now. They're happy with the Royal recruits right now, and they're in a category like freeze. Okay, which I think is good. I think it's a good idea that the Royal recruits aren't like in the meta, and I agree that they should be a niche card. But when you look at the actual stats, okay, when you look at the actual stats of cards in Clash Royale, Royal recruits have a 24% win rate, whereas the free spell has a 40% win rate. And I mean, that's a pretty big difference right there, right? So comparing the recruits to the free spell, I don't think is overall that fair in sense of balance wise. Like, obviously in nicheness, like both of them are niche cards. You only ever see freeze in like, you know, one or two decks. But in terms of raw power and ability to win in Clash Royale, there is a significant difference with the Royal recruits versus the free spell. One of them has 24% win rate. One of them has 40% win rate. So I don't know. Personally, I think the Royal recruits should get a slight buff as well. Maybe that's how they buff Royal delivery. Maybe you buff the Royal delivery by slightly buffing the Royal recruit, which would buff the Royal delivery and the Royal recruits, right? I don't know. Just an idea right there. But guys, that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. But that is the end. We shall see you guys in the next one.